Alistair says there was no chance of getting back into the title race anyhow, but we should take this opportunity to get a new boss in, give him time to rebuild and prepare a proper challenge for next season. That's plenty, Clement. Over to you, Patrick Stewart. Colin says, utter shambles, no excuse for playing that poorly against any team. We simply struggle in front of goal. Hopefully January we'll buy a new striker and tighten the defence. And this one from John watching live on YouTube. Rangers don't have enough quality in the squad to rotate the team. Clement needs to play his best team for each and every game. And I think that's an important point, Andy, because, I mean, I was surprised yesterday when I saw the Rangers team. Raskin on the bench, and I get that Clement has said, look, if he gets booked, he'll miss the Old Firm game, but the Old Firm game is almost, you could argue, is almost irrelevant now that they lost last night. Surely it's all about here and now. And Danilo's, I thought, they need to start Danilo. Danilo, for me, makes such a big difference up front.
Yeah, I mean, Rangers aren't in a situation where they can take any game for granted now. So the fact that they, are trying to keep Nico Raskin safe for January 2nd just meant that they were lacking basically the best of the guy who's been their best player over the last month. Listen, Philippe Clement can argue, obviously can't start the same guys for the 60 games Rangers might perhaps end up playing this season. They can't start the same guys week in, week out. So he has to give other people opportunities. It's down to them to take it. They didn't, that's fair enough. That's fair comment. But end of the day, from his own perspective, he's now in a situation where, as far as the punters are concerned, and a lot of fans have made up their own minds, he was living on a game-to-game basis. So for his point of view, every game was a must-win game, and I think you'll now find that a lot of fans now have utterly run out of faith in him. I think they were willing to give him a wee bit of time the way that the team performed, even in the cup final, losing it. That was a 6 Derby win that they've lost, Derby game that they've lost. So for the fact that they showed us something at Hampden, they took Celtic to all the way to penalties and lost by the thinnest of margins. But I think there's some fans were willing to give him a benefit of the doubt in that sense. But losing last night, I think for many will be the final straw. Whether that's the case with the board, I'm not so sure. I think with Patrick Stewart and Fraser Thornton only just been in the door, I think there might be especially with the Old Firm coming up in a week's time. I think a few of them will be like, well, let's just get through this period before rushing to make a decision. But I think as far as many of the fans are concerned, that this is the final straw.
Mm-hmm. In fairness, Fraser, I mean, one of the comments we have had sent in, there's been a couple of them. Graham Dogood says he's got Beale's disastrous recruitment to work with. He needs 2 years minimum to sort that mess. I mean, is it all? I mean, it's not all in Clement, but I don't know. It's difficult to see where he goes from here.
It's a fair point, Luke. I think every manager needs a couple of years when they're taking over such a disastrous squad as Philippe Clement's taken over. Unfortunately, he's walked into a club where he don't get that kind of time. History's told us that, isn't it, down the years? I'm with you. I don't quite understand why you can't keep playing your best players week in, week out. 2 games a week, it's not overly burdensome. I mean, we've all spoken about Nico Raskin. He's come in, he's added energy and quality to that midfield. But the big one for me is Danilo, because I think by far and away he's Rangers' best striker. I think in terms of intelligence, in terms of composure, putting the ball in the net, he's looked lively whenever I've seen him. I think his levels above Cyril Dessers is more consistent than Hamza Igamani. And obviously he can play the two of them, as has been shown before. So I just don't understand. I think he went with the wrong team yesterday and it came back to bite him. So that one's on the manager. They don't have a cast of millions like Celtic have got to change the team up as much as maybe he thinks they can. So, yeah, I think it started with the wrong team yesterday. It came back to bite him. In terms of working with the squad, I do agree with that he's still having to work with much of Beale's disastrous 2023 summer recruitment drive. I think like Andrew was saying there, I think Patrick Stewart's going to have to take a bit of time to get a feel for where the club is, where the squad is, where Clement is. the league's gone. The league's been gone for weeks. I was never of the belief for last weekend that there was a title race again. Never. Unless they won every game leading up to January 2nd and then delivered a first defeat at Celtic, Philippe Clement at Ibrox. There wasn't going to be a title race. So that's gone, but they've still got Europe to focus on and then a Scottish Cup run. I would stick with Philippe Clement to the end of the season. Give him another transfer window to try and rubber stamp his team. Because I've said it before, the guy's got pedigree. He's won 3 Belgian titles with 2 different clubs. He cannot be a dud manager. And the league's gone. So I don't really see the point changing manager at this point in the season. It's almost like some people have just been waiting for this latest defeat to come along to pile on to him again. I think it's time for calm heads at Ibrox and see what the next few weeks deliver.
See, in fairness, Andy, I think Fraser makes a good point in the sense that, well, the league is probably gone. And to be fair, St Mirren, I thought were brilliant last night. I thought Olasanya, I mean, he just terrorised proper when he came on for. But as soon as Balogun went off, that was a big problem. But going back to the Derby game coming up, if Philippe Clement fails to win a 7th Derby, I mean, it's a really simple equation. If you can't beat the other team in Glasgow, you're really struggling. I mean, I struggle to see how he would go on from there.
I've said all along.
Sorry, go on, Fraser.
I would hate to have to go into that game with no John Souttar or even no Leon Balogun now. I mean, he really does have his hands tied behind his back. It's a different Celtic. I think everyone has to agree. Celtic are levels above, especially in the forward areas. And now if Rangers defenders are falling left, right, and centre, it's a horrible prospect. But look, you're right. He's got to find a way to get that big result, or his head will be on the block. Sorry, Andy, you were going to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say. Listen, I've been saying a lot of the time in Hotline Live that I think Philippe Clement deserves time. I think he deserves a chance to get his best players back and see where that takes this team. I think you've saw over the last 5 or 6 weeks that when he's got options at the top end of the pitch, his team can be effective and his style of management can be effective. I don't think a lot of the time he's done himself many favours. This insistence and sort of sticking by what the sports scientists do. Listen, I've spoken to plenty of ex-pros that say, no, you can't just rush guys back. You need to follow the science. You need to follow the instructions of the medics who know what they're talking about. But I think at times he's sort of bit his nose off to spite his own face at times with that. I think there's been times where he could have rushed guys back or taken a chance on guys and given himself better options. But yeah, it's just cruel luck. I mean, he's had his whole, what's he been here now, just coming up sort of 14, 15 months. And how many times can he say he's had an entire squad to pick from? He's every one of his best options available. Never, I don't think. I don't think at any point he's ever had a fully fit squad to choose from. So, I mean, that'll be so frustrating. And now, as you say, just as things were looking to pick up, he gets a knock to a key defender on John Souttar. Nana Casemiro, who's starting to show some positive signs. He gets ruled out for the best part of the season. Now Leon Balogun heading into another derby, or even last night when he was his pace, even at 36, his pace was the key element at the back in terms of dealing with Olasanya and his ability to run away from defenders. And they lose that 20 minutes into the game. They're forced to reshuffle. You've got John Sterling, who's played pretty much everywhere, apart from the goalkeeper, filling in at the centre back. You've Robin Proper, who I think we'll all agree has looked okay the last few weeks, but certainly a ton of pace isn't one of his strengths. So you're looking at him having to come back in, and now in a week's time they're going to be playing Kyogo, play a Celtic team with Kyogo, Maeda, and Kuhn, who have just got absolute legs to burn. So I'm not sure this is the fortune that Philippe Clement has had has been anyway fair. But at the end of the day, he could have recruited centre backs. He could have recruited, in terms of Robin Proper. I mean, I think we've all known that a lack of pace was his big sort of downside, and he's a Philippe Clement signing, so you can talk about Michael Beale and the damage that his recruitment drive did, but Philippe Clement's had a couple of windows to sort of address that, and I still think there's major gaps in that squad of where they could be looking to take Celtic on.
Just to finish on Rangers, I mean, Fraser, do you see January the 2nd as pivotal to Clement's future as Rangers manager, or is it really just a case of, as you say, look, stick with him for now, rebuild?
I think in terms of the fans, it is. I know the Old Firm's a different kettle of fish, right? I know you can't go 7 games without beating Celtic. So in terms of that, I think so. I just think that Rangers have sacked as many managers in recent years and not taken any strides forward, that it would just be history repeating itself. And just because you sack one manager, might bring in a worse manager. Who's to say that's going to improve matters? So look, we're almost in a punishment business, punishment sackings. If we can't beat Celtic on January 2nd, maybe it will be time. If you're asking me personally, well, look, if he got scudded off Celtic, that would be a different matter, especially at Ibrox. But as I said, I think I would think give him till the summer and see what he can make of this season, because you could salvage some silverware from it. You could get a remarkably good run in Europe. The league's gone. Just see what he can salvage for this season. I do believe there's a good manager in there. That fundamentally, that's what I believe.
Just to come on for that phrase, I mean, I had a look through the stats. It's confused by sort of some of the things like the Glasgow Cup and the Intercity leagues back in the day. But I think it's fair to say that no modern Old Firm manager has ever suffered or even made it to a 4th Old Firm game without winning and still kept his job. So the fact that Clement is now going to 7 tells you something, that this is unprecedented. This is uncharted waters in terms of Old Firm managers and a failure to get a result against the main opposition. So, but I mean, I think Rangers fans were willing to accept what happened at Hampden on the basis that there was signs of encouragement. They were able to compete with Celtic over 90 minutes. Okay, they conceded 3 times, but they scored 3 times. They came back twice when their team was down, and as I say, lost by the cruelest of margins. But Old Firm games are for winning. It doesn't matter about performance. Rangers fans would happily accept, and so would Celtic, I imagine as well, that their team playing absolutely terribly in 6 Old Firm games a season if they won them all. I don't think any Old Firm fan would have an issue with that. So if he goes, a good performance in January isn't going to be enough. He has to get a result, I think, in the eyes of supporters. At the end of the day, that is the currency which he has to operate now. It's